So what is Cardano up to? Now, in terms of the Cardano Foundation, they recently made a post explaining basically and showcasing their capabilities to even be used for the food and beverage industry, which I think this could actually be a pretty awesome thing when it comes to Cardano, fundamentally speaking. And I'll explain why in today's video, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything and nothing I say is financial advice. So if we take a look at Cardano, we've seen lately how it could even make an impact in the case of AI, right? We saw the partnership with the Brazilian Olympic Committee. It was a 3-year roadmap and it had an aspect of AI. So we saw that. We've already seen historically Cardano, what it could very well do in the case of the supply chain management market. But now seeing Cardano, at least in terms of the foundation, making a post about how basically they could be used for the food and beverage industry, I think this could kind of spice things up a little bit. No pun intended, of course, just because if we take a look at it, food misrepresentation, it's a big issue as of right now. Like for instance, I saw this statistic not too long ago. When it comes to in the case of food misrepresentation, basically, in terms of like a global industry, like in terms of the scale, it roughly cost around 40 billion per year, $40 billion. So it causes losses of that much, like per year, in terms of that industry due to misrepresentation, which is of course not a good thing. Now, if we take a look at it as well, an average product recall, it could hypothetically cost around 10 million bucks. I've seen that statistic before. So if we take a look at it, there could be a lot of issues, in which case could hypothetically be fixed through transparency. I feel like blockchain technology to a certain extent could maybe help do that, right? In which case Cardano did allude to how it could kind of fix some of these inconsistencies and some of these issues that it's seeing as of right now, or that is being seen currently in the food and beverage industry. So this is why I think that when it comes to in the case of Cardano, people seem to think that it's kind of useless. But if we think about it, the use cases that it could be used for are for actual crucial markets. Maybe it's not necessarily for random nonsense. Like, sure, we've seen memes before when it comes to Cardano, but I think Cardano is far more than that, right? It's something that could actually be used for an industry that impacts like the world in a pretty massive way. Like for instance, again, the food and beverage industry. So I think that was pretty awesome. This is kind of like a moment in time when Cardano is really spreading its wings, in my opinion, because I've noticed that in 2026, the Cardano Foundation is very vocal, constantly making posts and stuff like this, which I think showcases that they're not playing around. When a lot of people are slowing down, they're just speeding things up. And this is, I think, a little bit interesting too, to a certain extent, because we already know that Cardano, in terms of the foundation, it has a quite decent presence in Brazil. Like again, like I mentioned before, they recently had a partnership with the Brazilian Olympic Committee. They have a partnership with Petrobras, the largest company in Brazil. They already have a partnership with something called Senai São Paulo. So if we take a look at it, they already have a massive presence in Brazil. So if we take a look at how Cardano as a blockchain could be used for not only just AI and all this, but could also have an impact in the case of food and beverage, this could matter a lot just because Brazil, it's very well known for coffee, right? So when it comes to Cardano, imagine if it could make an impact when it comes to that. Just because it already has a presence in Brazil, imagine if because of this post that they made, it sparked like a new partnership with a company in Brazil. Or let's say it sparked like a new collaboration when it comes to that. We never know. It could be a hypothetical possibility. So when people like to tell me that, oh, Cardano, they're making these posts in terms of the foundation, it's very useless, no one cares about it, but I think it could matter a lot because they're really putting themselves out there. That's the thing. Cardano is treating 2026 very seriously, by the way. They're going to be attending a couple events throughout this world this year. Token 2049 in Singapore. They're planning to attend that. They're planning to go to Brazil. They're planning to go to Zurich, Switzerland soon. So we got to think about all this. They're planning for massive things. And again, they're constantly putting themselves out there. Now, people can tell me, well, ADA, it's still at around 19 cents. It's not really doing much. Well, yeah, I mean, the market overall isn't doing the best. It's not doing good, I should say. So what is Cardano going to do? Or should I say ADA, its native token, go on an independent rally of its own? It's highly unlikely just because it's a pretty massive project. But I don't really mind, though, seeing the quote-unquote dip. Because yes, it's true, ADA is back at around 19 cents. It recovered around 7% in the past month. So, I mean, there has been a slight recovery as of late, but we're still around 5 times away than a dollar. A dollar was what it achieved last year, and it was quite easy actually when it comes to ADA, just because a dollar historically isn't such a monumental milestone in the grand scheme of things. We've seen ADA reach around $3 before. So a dollar is really kind of like peanuts compared to its all-time high, right? But because we're so low currently, it's to the point that going back to a dollar is around a 5 times journey. I just find that quite impressive in terms of how low we are, which again, it may sound counterintuitive, but I don't mind the dip. And because I am holding and I'm waiting, and because I'm hypothetically dollar cost averaging once a month, it's not such a big concern for me. And again, if it could just go back to a dollar, I don't really need it to do any more than that, as of right now at least, just because a dollar is already quite impressive from where it is currently. However, when it comes to Cardano, seeing them make a post recently saying how, they could basically be used for in the food and beverage industry, I think it showcases the diversity when it comes to Cardano, and it showcases the flexibility of it as a layer 1 blockchain, which not a lot of other layer 1 blockchains have, in my opinion, that sort of flexibility. So I do find this pretty impressive, and might I add, right, in the food and beverage industry, consistency and reliability matters a lot. And the Cardano blockchain apparently so far has had 100% uptime. 100%, allegedly. Quite legendary stuff, I think, when it comes to that. If it has that consistency, if it has that reliability, those are the factors that are really going to matter for many of these large enterprises out there that are focused on food and beverage. So I think that was pretty awesome, and I don't see why they wouldn't want to maybe use Cardano in terms of, adopting it if, let's say, they were really focused on food and beverage, just because reliability matters a lot when it comes to that industry, and Cardano historically has been pretty reliable in terms of the uptime. Allegedly 100% uptime, so it hasn't experienced a lot of these nonsense issues. However, I'll be making more updates moving forward when it comes to Cardano, so I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very fantastic day.